What's going on, y'all, and welcome on in. Hopefully you already watched my video on the selective summons that are upcoming after completing episode 3, because that's also going to tie into my quick notes here real fast, guys. Make sure you read the chat box above. We just got the patch preview announcement. We got a lot more info coming in, so this video is primarily going to talk about the 3 upcoming banners, Alencia, Lilias, and Vivian. But before we begin those, let's go ahead and talk real fast about the Book of Ezra Foundation selector summons. Don't forget too, Moonlight Leo, ML Leo is gonna, Roaming Warrior Leo is gonna be recalled, or last day to recall him is tonight, or I guess before maintenance tomorrow. I think so. And just for the record, guys, I did end up recalling him. You never know. I think the bombs just weren't my cup of tea. So you make the call for yourself, but if there is another Moonlight 4-star that you were eyeballing, just don't forget to swap him out if you were on the fence. Speaking of being on the fence, the Foundation Day gift, guys, if you see the notes above, just after we see what's coming from the selectives, that might help influence you on what to pick from here, okay? Remember, the #1 choice should be Tama if you don't have her, but if you're looking at some other units or you already had Tama, take a look at my previous guide or just look at the units listed. The major ones like Politis and Flan are available from the selective summon from episode 3, and on top of that, Vivian will be on the upcoming banners, so hopefully you guys didn't pull already or pick already and you were waiting as per my advice, and now you can just get Vivian through the Covenant summons if you wanted her, or the banner rotation, and then get a different unit from the Ezra Foundation selector, okay? Anyways, with that being said, thanks guys for stopping on in. Let's go ahead and talk about the 3 units on the upcoming banner, and then maybe other tidbits from the update. Alrighty, y'all, let's go ahead and start with the first unit we're going to discuss today, and we'll just go over her strengths, weaknesses, and, you know, if I think you should use your hard-earned bookmarks on her. But yeah, let's go ahead and talk about Alencia, the first upcoming unit for the banners on rotation. She's just a very powerful Earth Bruiser that brings some utility as well in the form of defense up, AoE strip, and then of course she also has defense break on her skill 1, so she can do some damages while being tanky and providing some mitigation, some support in the forms of strips and defense up for all her allies. The problem with Alencia, I think right now, guys, is despite having just an insanely powerful kit, where I think if you do decide to pull for her, you won't really be unhappy. Just understand, in the current state of at least high-level RTA, she's almost non-existent these days. Most players opt to pick other bruisers, other Earth units, and she's just not really in favor at the moment. However, back previously, because of her powerful kit, she was often considered one of the top picks, most contested picks. It's just been a while since she's been prominent. You never know if things will shift back in her favor, but as for now and for the past few months at least, she hasn't been super amazing, like top tier pick. That being said, guys, I do think if you like Alencia and you are needing some kind of tanky Earth unit that provides a strip while also giving some damage mitigation, she could be the unit for you. Just keep in mind, she really is only a PvP unit, not really seen too much in PvE. But yeah, she's always going to be solid, and I think if you are lacking an AoE strip and you want some bruiser or more survivable units, especially one of Earth Element, she's your girl. So that being said, guys, I'll go ahead and write some example stats on the screen. Unfortunately, mine right now is just holding gear for World Boss. Like I mentioned, she's not really being used too often, but as you can see, I plus 15 her back in the day. One of my favorite units, one of the best units back then. Just not really at the moment one of the best. But not bad by any means. Stat lines you want to go for, since she is an HP scaling bruiser, we want to focus HP because that'll also provide her some damage while maintaining some crit chance, crit damage, and then not neglecting defense too much. So I'll go in and write just an example stat line, just bare minimum you guys need to aim for, just to give you a quick guidance. Typically speed immunity set is best, but she could probably run some broken sets. I think you do want immunity on her, so that when her turn does arrive, because usually she won't really be going first, you want to be able to make sure she gets her skill 3 off early so that you can remove buffs as well as provide defense up for your team. Alright, so that's Alencia in a nutshell. Is she worth the bookmarks? Only if you need, let's say you don't have like Violet and you're looking for some Earth bruisers that do damage. Also bonus points if you don't have like Bazaar and you want some kind of pseudo strip. She could be very nice for your account. But otherwise, if you kind of just are on the fence, she's not really needed at the moment. Not a must pick by any means. Next up, guys, we have Lilias, who, same thing with Alencia, everybody. One of the best units. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit more in depth on her. Just like Alencia, though, I don't currently have her ready. I was using her earlier this season, or no, excuse me, late last season, along with Senya, and I'll go and talk about the 3 archetypes I think most people run on her. But just a quick take on Lilias, guys. Just like Alencia, she was one of the best picks for RTA at one point in the game. She's still amazingly solid, and I think compared to Alencia, she's fallen off a little bit less, but just like Alencia too. You don't see her nearly as often as you used to, okay, for various reasons. Just there's other units that are more preferable for PvE. I think, you know, Adventure Roz does a similar job, and he's completely free, no Molivogor investment at all. I'll cover the differences between her and Roz in a second. For PvP, though, it's just not the meta for her. People want to bring dedicated Soul Weavers or Cleansers instead of using her as the cleanse, and I'll talk about some builds you can do for cleansing. And then for the damage dealing, it's more of a gimmick nowadays. If you want to do like Cleave style Lilias, that would probably be her biggest selling point for PvP at the moment, because otherwise the other knights kind of just do more. Look at Blue Crow, look at Fallen Cecilia, look at even Crimson Armin. They're a lot more in favor at the moment. And then if you wanted a Fire Knight damage dealer, we have Fire Charlotte at the moment, who is just insanely strong. So she doesn't quite have the spot she used to, but like Alencia, she was at the top of her game at one point, and I think compared, unlike Alencia, I should say, she's very strong in PvE and PvP. Okay, so strengths in PvE, we can use her almost anywhere. We can use her in raids, we can use her in expeditions. The nice thing about Lilias is she can shore up a lot of weaknesses of your team. Not only is she a knight, so she has access to Adamant Shield, Aureus, Bastion of Perlucia, any sort of damage mitigating effects that can help your squad. She also can bring, you know, of course, the skill 3 cleanse, help out Soul Weavers, or you can use her as your only cleanser. If you have like a different style of healing, maybe you're using a Bloodstone Ranger like Landy or Seaside Bologna, you can just use Lilias as your cleanser and not have a Soul Weaver. On top of that, she'll bring some extra damage through both dual attacks, and if you give her some crit chance of crit damage, the fact that she also takes the attack of the hero with the highest attack on your squad means her skill 3 also does some very nice damage. So leading into PvP, let's talk about the 3 builds. The number 1 build, and I'll give some example stats if I can on the screen, would just be your typical, both you can use this for PvE and PvP. Give her the speed tuning you want. Typically you want her a little bit faster, behind your opponent's debuffs. So let's say like a Bazaar, you don't want to go first, obviously. You want to be able to cleanse off any debuffs they hit you with, and then have as much tankiness after that. So typically for a just all-purpose all-rounder build, as much defense and health after you find the speed tuning you want. Typically usually 200 plus, anywhere ranging from up to like 250 if you want to also try to catch people with her S2 provokes. Okay, if you do that, you also need some effectiveness, which will also help on like the skill 3 skill pushback. The second build let's talk about is the Bruiser Lilias, and I think this is what a lot of y'all might have fun with, especially if you end up pulling someone like Senya from either the Book of Ezra or the Episode 3 Selective Summon, okay? Because, like I mentioned, the Lilias skill 3, she takes the highest attack, and if you just have one of those high attack units, Carrot can also work, guys. Seaside, Iceria, Summer Iceria. If you have a unit like that and you want to build, even for RTA, Real-Time Arena, you can have some massive hitting Gunther 2 guys, skill 3s, while also being a knight that provides some cleanse, as well as some provokes and dual attacks. So for PvP, guys, I still think she's at least like A rank, S rank, just not the top pick anymore by any means. Her usage rate went down a lot, but that's not because she's bad. That's more just because other units have become more in the spotlight, maybe a little bit more preferable in the current state of the game. All right. Anyways, the third build would be a full-on effect resist cleanse Lilias, but honestly, guys, I don't think that build is really viable anymore. I wouldn't advise doing it. It's very gear intensive, and instead I would just opt for, especially if you want a PvP cleanser, just go for one of the typical Soul Weavers. They usually can get a lot more effect resist base, or they have it built into their skills, and usually they'll be a lot more effective at that role. Even versus units like Bazaar, we have characters like Holiday Euphine now with the new Guild War artifact that, you know, typically will just work better. But same thing with Alencia, guys. Very solid pick. I think I rate her higher than Alencia. So anyone that needs a fire unit, just keep in mind, if you are strapped for bookmarks, Adventurer Roz can do a similar role as her for PvE. Her biggest selling points compared to Roz would be for PvP, the skill 3, that insane nuke she can do while also full cleansing is very, very powerful. All right, guys, last but not least, we have Vivian, who I know a lot of you guys picked for your Book of Ezra. I saw in the comments a lot of y'all really like Vivian, and for good reason. She looks great, and she's one of the best Banshee setup units in the game. So let's start with Banshee. Her biggest selling point, I think that's her biggest selling point at the moment, is the Banshee one-shot setup. Now, in this build here, you see, guys, this is just for a 4-man comp. I'm not too worried about damage. This is actually fine-tuned so she doesn't do too much damage for the boss, so the Banshee doesn't swap phases. However, it's enough to, you know, soften up the first wave and then do enough damage in the second wave. And the time matter is really just so she doesn't skill 1 the boss and do a random dual attack that could screw up the order. Okay, but the nice thing about Vivian is, on top of having a skill or a turn 3 greater attack, 3-turn greater attack buff for your squad, she also, with the S2, is one of the best setups because she can 3-man the comp by also skill 2 clearing the entire wave by herself if your gear is good enough. So one of the most versatile hunt units, especially for Banshee, and still has some PvP viability as either a immunity up provider for your squad, and then or a cleave skill 2 toilet flush. It's what it looks like, guys. The Thunder God's Cry. She just, anytime she kills a unit, she'll activate it again, and if you kind of soften up the squad, she can just do some big time AoE cleave. However, for PvP, RTA, same thing with Lilias and Alencia, not seen as often. If you wanted an immunity up for your team, there's a lot of other choices nowadays, either from Soul Weavers, either from Knights, even like Last Rider Crow, Shu's new exclusive equipment. So she's not needed quite as much, but if you did want to run her in RTA and also for Banshee, she's also an all-rounder, both great in PvE, great in PvP. One of the top picks, I think, maybe not top pick, one of the secondary top picks from the Book of Ezra. Never a bad choice, guys. Consider pulling for her on the bookmarks, and then instead use your summon, your guaranteed 5-star summon on someone else that's not going to be coming up on the banner anytime soon, like Tamarin. All right, guys, hopefully that helps you out. The tough part is none of these units are must pulls, in my opinion. The closest, I think, would be Vivian. But overall, they're all amazing units that you will not be unhappy with. So the newer you are, if you liked any of them and you think they could shore up your account, look at the element, look at what they do. All 3 of these are definitely above average, okay? Even though I keep mentioning they're not top tier anymore, that's specifically for endgame real-time arena, which a lot of y'all won't be ready for. For these 2 at least, Lilias and Vivian, for PvE and early game PvP and RTA, they'll be amazing. I think they'll suit your needs a lot. Just neither of them are must pull. So if you wanted to skip all 3, that's fine as well. Anyways, guys, I hope that helps a lot. The Mercedes thing was not a specialty change. He gets a new look, etc. Overall, not too much difference. Storage coming soon. Abyss Floors 120, guys. Get hustling. And yeah, I'll be testing out more Telex and Luna on live stream tomorrow after the balance patch. So make sure you guys stop by the Twitch streams. We'd love to have you. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.